organs,
Yeah.
No, there wasn't 2 sets of organs.
Right.
And I never thought about that until I joined this John Carpenter
Yeah.
thing group, and somebody actually brought that question up. So thank you, person, for if you watch this, for bringing that up. And but yeah,
that doesn't work out.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh man, and I didn't think about that either. In my mind, it was one of the few things I had justified in my head, because I'm like, okay, it, like the alien being, it wasn't trying to hide as much the first time around, and so it was assimilating on contact as the version we get in the original thing, because once they come in contact with it, it's learned to be stealthy. It's got to hide. I never thought about the fact that it didn't make sense at all because of the organs.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, oh well. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I get the idea. It just nothing. It didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't.
That movie. We're gonna talk about the original, because that's what matters. That's the best one.
Yeah. So I think next year your Halloween costume should be MacReady.
Yes, I want to, and I'm gonna make.
Gotta find the hats. Gotta find the hats. Yeah.
We'll create some spider leg tentacle stuff to come off of.
Oh yeah.
My dog Mac. I can have him with me.
I might know a makeup effects artist that.
Yeah. I think I might too.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to introduce me to that guy. Oh.
Yeah. One day. You have some things behind me.
Yeah. We got the Blair thing there, and we got MacReady, and we have the head. We have the head.
We got a little head. Yeah, we got a little head there. Yeah,
that is cool. We got a little head there.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah, you can't see it
the thing
on MacReady, but he's got the petri dish and there's a little blood thing coming up from the one of the greatest scenes in the thing. Of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there. One of the best jump scares ever.
Oh, man.
All right. So the thing opens with alien, extraterrestrial, flying saucer, crashing in Antarctica, and I know there's when I first saw this, when it came out in the drive-in with American Werewolf in London, like one of the best best nights of my life, that set my path on this trajectory to become a filmmaker, makeup artist, and a writer and director and actor and all this stuff. So I remember my initial thought, like, wow, I wonder what kind of aliens on there, and I kept thinking to myself, because I had seen the James Arness, Howard Hawks version of the thing, 1951, and I loved it. I thought it was a great sci-fi horror movie, and I was thinking that, like, yeah, okay, this is going to be a gray alien or what, and I had no clue what I was in for. I mean, I knew some things because I knew about Rob Bottin, and I had seen some photos, and I'm like, that doesn't really fit with. So I remember that, thinking about that as I was in the drive-in watching this, like, okay, so yeah, cool, spaceship, yeah, here we go, UFO. So I don't know if anybody else thought about that the first time they saw the film or not, but yeah, that was on my mind. And
I don't know, because the rest of the movie is so it seems so far removed from outer space. You know what I
It
mean?
does.
When I was a kid, I for like the first, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times I watched that movie, I every time I watched it, I always forgot that it opens up with the spacecraft,
Yeah.
because the rest of the movie it's so intense and perfect and mind-boggling and all this fun stuff. Like, but it's also so separated from that. For some reason, when I was younger, every time I was like, "Oh yeah, there's a spaceship here," kind of like Predator. You never
Yeah.
think
Or
about the spaceship part of it because the movie is, you know, based on Earth, you know, and it's such a small part of it.
yeah, it's kind of it's kind of like the Blob too.
Mm-hmm.
Am I talking the Steve McQueen Blob, or am I? They're both kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I like them both. They're fun.
I
They're cheesy.
I don't recall the specific age I was when I remember watching the thing for the first time, but I have no idea how old I was. I know I was arguably by most parents' standards probably too young.
Yeah.
Uh, but my dad, my uncle, and my grandpa, they're like, nope, you gotta see this.
Yeah, I was 13.
And yeah, I was between 8 and 10, probably somewhere
Nice.
around there. Yeah, I started
Nice.
real early, but I loved it so much. You know, before I watched a lot of these movies, I knew about them because I was so obsessed with horror cinema and monsters. I was always going to the library as a kid and checking out books, you know, so I knew what all of them looked like, and I knew kind of what the movie was about. Or I was borrowing books or magazines and reading them from my dad and my uncle and stuff, that they were just massive fans of all this stuff too. So I knew about it before actually watching it, but I didn't know the full scope of everything. And I knew about the original thing, the black and white version. And I wasn't expecting that type of creature because I knew it was not. I didn't quite get that aspect of it, which I'm sure a lot of people got when it originally came out, not knowing exactly what the thing was or was going to be. And I didn't even read the short story. I'm going to
Who goes
forget
there?
the author now. Yeah, who goes there? I forget the author
Or
off the top of my head.
Frozen Hell.
Yeah,
Campbell. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank too. It was
yeah,
originally Frozen Hell, but it was cut down and title was changed. But
yep.
yeah, yeah, I read Who Goes There, uh, like in high school, I believe, and it when I read it, I'm like, I don't see how anybody thought there was a movie here. Really, I'm sorry, I wasn't impressed with it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and then we get this great callback to Howard Hawks' The Thing with the opening credit, The Thing, which is great,
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, and then we're introduced to Outpost 31
Yes. Our
and some
favorite
cheating
outpost.
bitch. And a bottle of of J&B.
J&B. Yep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
eventually the computer gets thirsty,
Yes, it
and
does.
the crew
Uh,
gives it a drink.
yes. Um, and by the way, Wyatt Russell with a beard really looks like his dad.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
big
if
time.
it's darker, So
Yeah,
if there is a sequel, I'm just saying, John
yeah,
Carpenter.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah. Well, they're literally.
I would approve that casting. I would,
I would.
and
They're
that
doing it right now with that
yes with
Monarch
Monarch. Yes,
series. Yeah.
which
Wyatt
I
Russell's
haven't watched yet, but
playing the young
I
version.
will. I'll watch it.
Yeah. I watched the first episode myself, and I haven't gone back in to watch the rest of them yet, or what's been released so far.
Right.
But the first episode was good enough for me to definitely want to come back and watch them. So, but yeah. Anyway, Wyatt Russell
Back to
is
the
literally
thing.
back to the thing.
Yes.
He is a
Yes.
blonde version of his dad.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. It
It's crazy.
yeah. And well, I saw an interview with the both of them on Jimmy Kimmel or something, and he had the full beard and everything, and I'm like, I wonder why he's got a full beard right now. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Maybe
Oh,
I don't know.
yes. If the stars were to
That's
align ever so perfectly.
and that's what makes me curious to, you know, if Carpenter did, do the Thing Part 2. So
It'd be
but
interesting if that comes about, because before we break it down anymore, could you pick a favorite scene in the thing?
I can actually. I can. I would have to agree with John Carpenter. His favorite scene in the thing is where the head sprouts legs and walks away. 'Cause I'm in the drive-in seeing this for the first time, and it's probably why I love the film so much. Is I remember everything about it the first time I saw it. It's uh, and I just remember that scene. I'm like I'm in the car. Or I was probably in a lawn chair outside of the car, watching that. Like, oh my god, that's just and that's the
Yeah,
scene that I always go back to. That
the
and
thing is
fuck you
definitely
too.
the thing is one of the earliest examples I can think of uh, in horror and sci-fi cinema when you're watching it, and as the film progresses, you're like, "Holy shit, it went there!" Like
yeah,
we amped it up again, and like watching it for the first time, you're just, "Holy shit! How much crazier, how grosser, how
yeah,
more intense can this get?"
right.
And it still blows my mind to this day that movie was hated when it came out.
I,
Like,
yeah, and
it just, again, I always think of Back to the Future when he plays the song, and Michael J. Fox is like, "I guess you guys weren't ready for that." That
yeah,
that
yeah.
I always think of that
But
because
here's the thing. um, Getting back to what you're talking about earlier is like, okay, so we see the dog kennel, and we see that play out. It's like, holy shit.
yeah,
When we see the dog transform for the first time. Thank you, Stan Winston.
yes,
Uh, it was so, nobody had ever really seen anything like that before.
yeah,
I mean,
that
that's a
that
transformation
level,
scene for you.
yeah, yeah, that level of, I think you're spot on with that. That level, I don't think had ever been visited before.
Right. Like,
Maybe people didn't know how
I
to feel about it.
yeah,
It's too
and
intense for them.
now since 2014, I've been thinking about that scene. Like, man, if that was John Wick's dog, Jesus Christ, he'd go after all those alien motherfuckers. He'd go after all those things.
That would
I'm
have been a real
sorry,
quick movie. Yeah, that's what we
but
that's what we need, actually, is we need the Thing and John Wick mashup.
yeah.
That's, yeah.
But
Pick the wrong dog to assimilate.
yeah, but so we get this transformation, and that just keeps on it's like a spider web, just keeps on growing this way and that
Yeah.
way, and all this shit's happening. It's like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's like,
And
okay, so the next time we see is Bottin has to amp everything up. we we go to Bennings, okay, which is just hands, but we do see him when Windows comes in. Holy shit, and we're
yeah.
expecting to see human horror, body horror, and
Yeah.
and I think Carpenter chose wisely, and it was probably written that way in the script, to not get into that yet.
Yeah.
That's
For me, it was always that sequence always really stuck in my head because him just on his knees in the snow with the
with
half
the hands.
assimilated
Yeah.
hands and then when he opens his mouth and then then they set him on fire and you see it. So like
Yes.
they're definitely not shying away from anything, but
Right. Right.
it's still the scene in itself is still just for me as impactful as watching everything that happens with the dog and the
Mm-hmm.
kennel go
Yeah.
absolutely balls to the wall, nuts,
Yes.
grotesque, crazy,
Mm-hmm.
disgusting, and awesome at the same
Yes.
time.
Awesome.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Rob Bottin, I think every time he wanted to just kind of step it up, with every
Yeah.
single one. And Carpenter also with how the scenes are written and what happens in them. Every time it's just like holy shit watching
Mm-hmm.
it for the first time. Obviously
Yeah.
you weren't expecting that. Every time it's just a slap in the face with more insane shit that you've likely never seen before at this
Yeah.
point, especially
Yeah.
for 82. That was pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then a line that sticks out in my head uh, after that is when Gary's like, "I've known Bennings for 10 years." It handles that really well. Like, that's not your friend of 10 years, but still there's something inside you
Yeah.
that that has a problem letting go. We talked about this in The Cursed, the werewolf film, uh, where the guy had to shoot and kill his daughter who had just came out of this freaking demon wolf. And
Yeah.
it's like, how do you do that? Because it's not that person,
Right.
So,
Yeah,
and
I think
there's a lot of mental anguish there that you, the viewer, it kind of resonates with you because you know because you put
I think
yourself in the character's shoes, or at least I do.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, when you're watching that movie, but what the thing does, I mean, yes, all the effects, the gore, all that stuff is super amazing, awesome, well done, never seen before. But what really separates the thing from another,
world,
gore fest, if you will, is is characters and how actually terrifying it is. Just much like Alien, you're isolated and you have nowhere
right,
to go,
right,
and you're likely just gonna die because you have this foe that has no weaknesses you don't know how to deal with, and then the thing you don't even know who it is. We're
right,
not looking out for a scary creature anymore. It's your buddy you've been working with for 10 years,
right.
and it's just the frightening isolation of the thing was always really stuck out to me as a kid. With all the other cool shit going on, watching it, I was like, man, it really sucks,
Yeah,
to be in
yeah,
this
it's
situation. And every character is immediately given its own characterization. Every single character, you don't get them confused with another character,
right, right,
big or small. You because of the way they're written and because of their personalities and they're so individualized, you immediately start to care about each character for
right.
different reasons, or dislike them, or whatever. You have a connection to those characters, and I talk about that all the time, but that's a lot of
Yeah,
what
yeah,
modern horror is
and
missing
you know,
constantly.
I've heard a lot of critics. Well, I've I've gone back and in fact, well, I found Siskel and Ebert reviewing this for the first time, and a few other critics that were saying things about it like, well, the characters aren't developed. Oh, they're developed. They are. I mean,
Yeah.
they're developed like there from the get go, and
Yep.
each one of them goes through, you know, goes through a change. Some are physical, but
Yeah.
and I mean, in the beginning, I mean, look at McCready. In the beginning of
Yeah.
the film, he's like he just wants to be left alone, you know.
Yeah.
But by the end,
It,
but by the middle of the film, he's taken over. You know,
yeah.
he's and
Oh,
the thing knows he is the one that it has to take out
yeah.
because he's the one that could cause it a lot of trouble. So
Yeah. That's another thing. Obviously, everybody knows who Kurt Russell is. Uh, but at the time, in 1982, he wasn't quite the name
oh
he
yeah,
is now. I
right,
mean, he's still, uh, was a known actor to to a certain extent. But the great thing about the thing is, going into that, you have no idea who the main character is
right,
for a good chunk of the beginning of the film.
yeah,
Nobody necessarily quite stands out. Everybody's got a name, and somehow, for some reason, like these names stick out, even though a couple of them are normal. Gary is one of the characters' names,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it sticks in your head. Bennings, Fuchs, McCready, Childs, like these names are,
yeah.
Blair.
I'm
These are names that stick in your head. A dog
definitely,
after
yeah,
this movie.
yeah. So
Like
every
I,
time his dog
I didn't even
barks
give my
when we're
wife a
doing a
chance.
podcast, yeah, every
Yeah,
time his
yeah.
dog barks when we're doing a podcast, I always say Mac wants the what. So
Mac
you
wants
heard
the
it
what?
in the beginning. You heard it in the beginning.
Yep.
There it is. So
That's
yeah,
Mac always wants to be involved. Uh,
yes, yeah.
I
To the people that don't know, your dog is a what kind of dog?
It is a husky. It is a
Yes,
Siberian husky. That's right.
yes,
That's right. So
a
yeah,
beautiful
when I
one,
got him, he's beautiful dog, beautiful dog.
well behaved too.
There he is. He's a great dog. Um, there's only two names he was gonna get. Uh, because when we got him, he was kind of mine-ish. We got him more or less because of me, and him being a husky, his name was either going to be Nanook from the Lost Boys, or it was
Yeah,
going to be a name from the thing. And to me, it was always going to be McCready, and
yeah,
he gets called Mac.
yeah, yeah. And me, I'm stuck with a rabbit. I mean, no, Poe is fun. Well, he was a show rabbit when I got him, and
Really
what? Yes, well behaved. He would do,
nice.
yeah. If you would set him down on the floor on a table or whatever, and you'd pet him, he would assume the position much like the dog in the beginning of the thing, right when he goes into the thing. Yeah. But yeah, he ate he ate his pedigree. Look at that. So um uh, I recently found that. I knew I had it laying around somewhere. He's 4 years old, so and he likes when I podcast, and he's probably sitting under my chair right now. So, but he loves when I podcast. But yeah, so yeah, you have Mac, I have Poe.
That's right.
Yeah,
Our official mascots, basically.
yeah. Well,
They probably need their own T-shirt eventually. I think.
yeah, yeah. Poe does have a T-shirt. Yeah, it's
Oh,
him on top of the train cars. Have you seen that?
oh yes.
So yeah, I did turn that into a T-shirt. Yes. Uh, uh, I'm I'm not gonna look for it right now, but yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
back off,
Uh,
way off. I love that line too. I mean,
there's so
Kurt
many great
Russell's
lines
Kurt
in the
Russell's
movie.
just such a badass in this movie. I mean,
He is, and so I was having a discussion with a friend, and this was, I don't know, a month or two ago, and he was asking me like to list, some favorite actors of mine. Uh, and I mentioned Kurt Russell because he's just one of my favorite actors. I think he's amazing.
yeah,
And he was like, "Okay, why?" And I was like, "All right, well, since I have to explain, but valid. I don't mind backing up my stuff." So we went back and
right,
forth on a lot of the movies, and I mentioned The Thing, and he's like, he made a good point to me. He's like, but do you consider, like, are you saying The Thing because it's The Thing, like the movie in general is just one of your favorites and it's great, or
hmm
are you saying it because you honestly consider him a really good actor in that role? And I was
yeah,
like, no, I think he's a really good actor. Like he did so well that you don't immediately know that he's your hero of the film. You honestly feel that progression. He is almost forced, or maybe he's a little bit more willing to be, but he is, you know,
well,
takes on that role, and it's a natural progression. But at the same time, he's like, even though he's a pilot in the Antarctica, but he's still very much your everyman type of character. But
yeah,
he plays it so well, but at the same time is such a massive badass.
yeah.
At the same time, like, I think it's a great example of actually really good acting because I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, and it shows when Gary gives up his gun, and Charles is going to take it, and McCready's like, "Nope, we're done.
Yep.
I'm taking control," and nobody questions him, and you don't think otherwise either. When you're watching the
No.
film, like you don't say, "Why didn't anybody question him?" Well,
Yeah.
because you don't need to.
Right.
So
He just
yeah,
he naturally. Uh, it's not so. Not even. I wouldn't even say he demands respect necessarily. It's just that when you're in a room with somebody, it, let's say you're in a room with a bunch of dudes, like it's not even a masculinity alpha male type of thing. There's just an aura about somebody that is a natural leader or someone that you respect and trust enough to make those decisions and be okay with those decisions. And they were able to portray that on film.
right.
And Kurt was a huge part of that. And I don't think that's not just someone getting a paycheck or, you know, just
Yeah,
starting
because
out. That's raw, excellent, great talent, in my opinion.
yeah, 'cause, I mean, you know, like when everyone's looking to him for answers, and he's just annoyed with it.
Yeah,
So
he doesn't
he
want to be
doesn't
that guy
he doesn't
necessarily.
want
He's
to
like,
be that guy, but
I'm a
you know,
fucking pilot,
at,
and I play chess
at
with a computer.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah. Well, I used to
nobody,
play chess with a computer, but
yeah,
uh,
until it pissed me off and dumped my
yeah.
JB in there.
Yeah, so now he's playing chess with a freaking shape-shifting alien. Yeah, so
Yeah,
uh,
going back to that, we went way off. But I had
we
asked,
did.
I put Randy on the spot here. We did not previously talk about favorite
Yeah,
scenes, so I put him on the spot there, asking him about his favorite scene, and you mentioned the head turning into a
right.
spider, which
Yeah,
excellent choice, and probably one of the most grotesque scenes in the movie. And for
yeah,
me, it's
because
not even the legs sprouting; it's the head coming off that always
yeah,
gets me,
yeah,
because
sliding
it's
down the
just the
table and
the
yeah,
sinews like popping and snapping,
yeah,
and it's such a great scene, and it's grotesque, but it's filmed so well. Like, it's absolute chaos is going on, uh but it's incredibly easy to follow, very well shot. That the effects in that scene to this day have not been taught, because Bottin is so fucking amazing in
hmm
everything he's doing. And that whole sequence there is massive, massive amounts of work for them, because we're doing the autopsy. we do we do the arms get bitten off with the belly
Oh
mount,
yeah, yes,
which
yes,
nobody was prepared for that. In 1982, there is no way anybody was expecting somebody's stomach to turn into chomping teeth and bite off somebody's arms. Like,
right, right.
that's fucking nuts, man.
I
But
um yeah,
it's perfect.
Botin. A lot of people don't know, but Botin uh, was had had some creatures in the original Star Wars in the cantina
Yes,
sequence.
that's right. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
And in fact, wasn't the wolf looking guy
no,
his?
that was Rick Baker's.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but and I couldn't tell you which ones were Botin's, but I got this from I was uh, head of the makeup department on a film that will remain nameless right now. Uh, but I was talking to the cinematographer on the film, and he was telling me that he worked on a film with Rob Bottin. I'm like, oh wow, cool, you know. And Bottin told him the story how he was, just 17, 18 years old, working in a small effects shop, and they had like three or four different aliens that they sent to set, and that and Baker had talked about this too, that George Lucas was putting things in the foreground that should have been placed in the background. But anyway, Bottin was kind of upset about well, this you know something I did that's really great is not up front and center. And he was just kind of bummed out about that. And he was sitting on the steps of the cantina, and he didn't, this guy came over and sat down. He's like, oh, "What do you think?" And Bottin's like, "I think the director doesn't know what he's doing." And the guy's like, "I think you're right." It's like, he's explaining to him, like, okay, he's putting all these monsters, all these aliens that should be in the background. He's putting them up front, and and it's like, well, this guy's like, okay, so he's like, all right, and he gets up and walks away, and he goes right up to the crew and everything, and it's like, next thing he hears this guy say is action. And he's like, oh shit, that was the director I was talking to. Fuck. So anyway, so that was kind of a funny little story that oh
I can't help. So, unpopular opinion, or I assume is As far as George Lucas goes, I always thought him as he's a great creator of worlds.
Yeah, he is.
But him as a singular artist, as far as like directing, is nowhere near on par with his his creative world building. And I feel, and I may be shot for this sometimes, and I feel Tolkien is the same way. I think his world creating and his world building was much better than his actual writing. I don't know. I always felt that they were kind of in the same spot there.
That just happened. So no, George Lucas.
Yeah. Back to the thing. There we go. And back to Rob Bottin. I think
Rob Bottin.
Obviously, Baker's obviously way more well known and lauded, and always will be. But I'd argue the fact that Bottin was just as great, and maybe
and,
even better in certain aspects. I don't know.
And
I don't know if I could put one above the other. But
yeah, being a protege of Rick Baker didn't hurt.
No. It's just, you get the greats listed, but you never hear him get listed along Baker unless you're talking about, oh well, he was his his protege and you get the mentions of that, but his name fully 100% belongs to be up there with Baker and Savini and all those guys. Like, it's just that Bottin has done so many movies and so many creatures and effects that most people, I have no idea he even did them.
And
I'm trying to think of a lesser, like Legend. A lot of people have no idea. Ridley Scott movie Legend. Meg Mucklebones was like one of the coolest creatures I think ever created, and absolutely fucking terrifying. And that was Rob Bottin. And
so Bottin became pretty much a recluse, but he did pop up again for Game of Thrones. He worked on an episode of Game of Thrones. Not sure exactly what he did on that episode. If anybody knows, let me know.
I have no idea.
But and when I was a kid, when I was 17, 18 years old, I had the addresses and phone numbers of Savini, Baker, Dick Smith, and Rob Bottin. And I always chuckle at Rob Bottin. I'm like, I wonder how he got this address. It was 666 Killigan Street. I'm like, what? That can't be right. So, but
there's no way.
Yeah. So, but out of I never did call him or send him any of my work or anything like that, and I didn't Rick Baker either, because but I called Dick Smith and talked to him and talked to Savini and everything, and later met Savini and closed a bar down with him. Anyway, we won't talk about that. But it's I don't know where I was going. I'm just remembering things. So from when I was like 17, 18. Yeah. But anyway, I'm getting nostalgia. So let's get off the nostalgia.
Not to do with somebody like Rob Bottin and being responsible for your love of cinema, especially special makeup effects. you know, it's almost sad how, you know, he ended up becoming a recluse and just he's not as well known or spoken about as some of the rest of the greats when he's easily on par with all of them. And any film you watch that he was a part of is a perfect example. The Howling, The Thing,
Oh God, yeah.
RoboCop. I mean,
Yes, Tanya's Island,
yep.
and The Fog. John Carpenter's The Fog. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, and you know, I hate to say this too, but I don't. You know, Rob Bottin's Werewolves in The Howling I like better than Baker's Werewolf in American Werewolf in London. That's just yeah, I know.
Literally.
No,
So,
I
oh
love
man,
them both. And
yeah.
if you ask me to put, you know, my top favorite werewolves from werewolf movies, uh, I would have to say the number one spot would be both of them. You know,
Yeah.
because
It's a hard. So,
it is a hard
you and
one.
I are a lot like like one another when it comes to preferred werewolf designs because you and I prefer a bipedal type
Yes,
of werewolf
yes,
as opposed to, you know, quadruped demon dog that we get in American Werewolf in London. Even though American Werewolf in London Werewolf is absolutely fantastic, amazing, perfect in all aspects, the fact that you and I prefer the bipedal, it's tough. I don't know if I could put one in front of the other, but I definitely
yeah,
prefer
and
the style of the
yeah,
Howling more.
yeah,
Uh,
yes, for sure.
yeah, man.
And
I don't even know how
especially,
we.
you know, when you see in that photo that I sent you, that was Dee Wallace standing next to the Howling, and that was restored. It was an original from, I think it might have been one of the rocket propelled werewolves from the Howling, but it was restored by Greg Nicotero. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And
I think you know the Howling. Yeah. You know, and with the Thing too. I think in looking at makeup effects outside of the film, so like behind the scene photos or like full on lights in, you know, the makeup room of them working on it, I would almost have to say that Bottin's is probably the best for me in those situations. Like obviously anything's going to look better in the film, in the right lighting and all that stuff, but looking
right,
at all of Bottin's stuff, the werewolf is a perfect example. Seeing those werewolves not in scene in the movie, they're just as terrifying. And in some photos I've seen, I even like them better seeing more of them. That's
mm-hmm.
just insane to me that something would look that good without, you know, the movie magic at all.
Right, right.
You know, so
And you know, I mean, um, Baker's werewolf from American Werewolf, and under bright light, you know, in Bob Burns' basement looks fucking amazing, you
oh
know.
yeah, oh yeah, oh
So,
yeah,
but so, I mean, I haven't seen it personally, but
oh yeah,
um, but yeah, I've seen pictures of it and video and everything. But um, yeah, so, but I sway more towards, you know, the bipedal werewolf, just like you do. So,
yep,
and you know, one of the things that I never really noticed before um, was how big the head was on that
yeah,
beast
huge,
compared to the body. It's like out of proportion. It's
yeah.
fucking huge.
I guess for some reason in the, I mean, in the movie, they obviously look bigger. But yeah, with what you said, like seeing it, next to a real person, even though you see that in the movie too, like they're way bigger than you think they are. They
Yeah.
almost look smaller on screen for some reason. But yeah.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah. The thing.
Yes.
Uh
We were talking about The Thing.
yeah,
Rob
and
Bottin's
yeah,
effects.
look what bringing up Rob Bottin does. It takes us off on a tangent because he's so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But his work in The Thing, I mean, you just can't be ignored. It's so original, fantastic, amazing, gross. And I don't know if he did any, or if he did what he did as far as design sketch wise. But one of the things you and I have talked about in the past was the sketch designs done for The Thing, and we are both very huge fans of that artist.
Mike Ploog.
Yes, Mike Ploog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the coolest.
Oh yeah.
When somebody is amazing an artist, and Mike Ploog ends up doing designs for it, and I'm not sure how much he and Carpenter actually talked about what exactly Carpenter wanted, but I mean, at the end of the day, Ploog definitely deserves some kudos for the designs he made for him, because that's a lot where that stuff spawned from. And I know a lot of people don't think about that initially. We want to give kudos to
Right.
Carpenter, Bottin, and everything like that, but a lot of it starts with art design and sketching out what the creatures or characters are going to look like. And if you haven't looked those up beforehand, you should definitely look those up, because those are fantastic. So yeah, the the spider-head scene is Randy's favorite scene. Gosh, I don't even know what I'd call. I don't know what my favorite scene would be. It's really hard for me not to pick the blood test scene, even though that's a highly recognizable, to choose that scene. But there's a reason it's so damn iconic.
Yeah, it's the perfect jump scare. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
there's
It's just
so much tension that few movies have been able to create and control and hold that much tension, and then turn it into a jump scare, and then it also becomes a almost an action sequence with everything going on. And we've got a whole sequence where once we take our time and test everybody individually, and finally we test the right one, it pops up, and then we find out who it is, and then they start to thing out, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and then McCready's like, Windows, blast him. And then what? Windows freezes.
Yeah. And then he doesn't he get his head chomped on, and then he gets tossed around.
Yes.
If there is one thing that I could pick at in this movie, that is the only sequence, because it's when Windows gets thrown after getting his head chomped, and he's shaking him around. It's very obviously a dummy.
It's a dummy. But I have you ever seen that ever before then?
No, exactly.
Never.
Yeah,
So,
never. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and I the first time I saw this, I was laughing at that because, but it was more of a nervous laughter, I think, because it's like, that is just fucking absurd, I mean,
insane. And again, the sequence, there's so many emotions that go into it. As you just mentioned, some of it's funny, it's terrifying, it's suspenseful, but like at the same, you're one of the things that, God damn that word,
Yeah,
that I think about
those
is
two
like the
words.
rest of the guys that are strapped to the chair, the couch thing
It's couch.
that's going on. How absolutely terrifying that would actually be. And for
Yeah.
the scene ends on an absolutely perfect note
Oh
when
yes.
Gary has the
Yes.
line, "It's fucking
It's,
couch."
but the way
And
he builds up to that is so great though. But
yes,
um,
it's so good.
yeah.
That whole, so that would have to be, yeah, I'm hard pressed to say that isn't my favorite scene slash sequence of the
Yeah.
whole movie. There's so many good parts though. And obviously we're doing a deep dive on the thing, but we're not gonna, there's no point in following the movie chronologically, start
Right,
to
right.
finish. Everybody's seen
Yeah.
this movie. If for some strange
Yeah.
reason
It's
you have not like seen the thing, I can't imagine anybody watching this has not seen the thing. But if you haven't,
it's possible. I mean, I
please, I can give no better advice than to go watch it, because
so, but yeah, it's the way Carpenter and the actors build up the tension and build up the paranoia is just so good. You know, and Quentin Tarantino has even said The Thing is probably, if you know, is one of the best movies, if not the best movie ever made. And
yeah,
look at Reservoir Dogs. Tarantino
yes,
will say uh, he wanted the claustrophobia. He wanted you know the trust issues. You know, he wanted all of that in Reservoir Dogs, and then Hateful Eight was a blatant ripoff of The Thing,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
he admits that, and you know it's just it's The Thing without the aliens, you know,
yeah,
and
basically.
and I love the Hateful Eight too.
The, what you're mentioning about the thing and what Tarantino said about it, I think a lot of people, and it's not because it isn't, it's just when you think about the thing, I mean, you're not thinking about film quality per se, as far as the quality of the directing, the acting. You know, you get caught up in the aspect of what's going on because there's so much going on. It's so crazy, and special effects are, you know, a forefront of the film. But at the same time, this is a almost perfectly executed film in all aspects of filmmaking.
Yeah, I would agree.
Directing, acting, cinematography, just everything, the
Makeup,
way things
special
are
effects,
shot,
all of it.
makeup.
Yeah.
Like, people need to, if you take a moment to think about how perfect and good the thing is, it is just as good, and in my opinion, more often times than not, better than any movie that wins an Oscar for a multitude of different reasons.
Yep.
Like, and it's unfortunate that horror never really gets to. It's kind of like the stepchild. Like, it doesn't get,
Well,
you know,
here's
the
here.
chance very often to be considered in the categories. Very few times has that ever happened. Save,
Well,
you know, like
there
Bram
there
Stoker
is.
Dracula.
I got
I
issues
do
with
love that
that.
movie.
I have issues with it. You love it, but um, there is an unsung hero that I I don't know if a lot of people talk about uh, in this in the thing, and that's Ennio Morricone.
Yes,
The music in the
yes,
thing
music.
is so. There's times, well, when they go find the UFO in the ice, and you know Mac and the other two that are escaping me right now. Um, when they're going they're going to climb down and check out the space. You almost hear that theremin. It's so faint. It's almost there, like Marconi for the music just pulled out all the stops and kept it subtle, kept it simple, but threw little things in there. And I think there was a piece of unused music from the thing that Tarantino used in The Hateful Eight, I believe.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah. One thing, I mean, what I think makes Carpenter one of the things that I think makes Carpenter such a great filmmaker is how much attention he pays to music, whether it's he himself making the music or whether it's him working with somebody else or have somebody else doing the music for him. Music is always one of the absolute top important things about films he makes. And for me, or any horror fan, I feel like The Thing music should be just as recognizable and important as music from things like The Exorcist. Everybody, knows the music from The Exorcist. Jaws is obviously another big one. Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. There's a reason.
Friday the 13th.
We just mentioned Friday the 13th.
Jurassic Park.
Yes, Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Which is a horror movie in its own
by the way.
Yes. See?
Yeah. So, okay. So here's the thing about The Thing. It was, see what I did there. Yeah. When The Thing came out, it came out right after E.T. And E.T. was the rage. Oh, we got a cute little alien here. Oh, look at this one. Now, I was a fan of Carlo Rambaldi's E.T., when I was 13 years old, because I didn't know any better. But when you look at it now, E.T. is a bit dated. I mean, you look at whose effects held up better, Carlo Rambaldi or Rob Bottin?
Exactly. I mean,
there you go.
Without a doubt.
That's all I need to say. All right. See you guys.
I mean, E.T. deserves its love to a certain extent. For sure.
It has its place in cinema
history. It does. It's a great, Spielberg, very, very few filmmakers of his stature, I guess you want to say, will I agree that they deserve all the accolades that they're given. I think Spielberg deserves all that. I'll never forget E.T. as a kid watching that. I very distinctly remember when he is I don't know, is it like soda? It kind of makes him drunk, and he's dressed up and wearing a wig and this dress. As a kid, that had me in tears laughing for some reason. And it's a great movie. It really is.
That had me in tears crying. I'm kidding.
You bring up an excellent choice. Fuck me.
I always bring up,
you bring up an excellent point that is often overlooked. Whose effects held up and whose didn't? Because you can go watch The Thing right now. And the only thing that's dated we've already talked about, and that's the dummy that's getting tossed around.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, there is no amount of computer generated effects or actual theatrical appliance effects that really match up to that other than other works done by Rob and Rick Baker and Tom Savini
Right.
and those guys from back in the day. But
And I can prove that. I can prove nothing. I mean, if you remade the thing today and use computer effect. Oh wait, they did that. Okay,
we
so
did that,
there,
and guess what?
prove prove my point. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay, you
It
bastards.
I can. The reason you originally brought up ET was maybe that's potentially one of the reasons why the thing didn't go over so well, and I can definitely see where that would be a thing. Uh, but also at the same time, how does someone? Okay, well, I guess personal preference. I think Roger Ebert's full of shit, but like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
can you actually say after viewing that film that there's no character development? Or like, it blows my mind
yeah.
watching that film how you can actually, outside of not being a fan of the grotesqueness and the blood and the violence,
Right.
how
Um.
filmmaker wise you cannot pick at that movie for doing anything wrong. It is made
Well. Okay.
extremely well.
Here's the thing. Again. Um. Uh. Sometimes when somebody goes to watch a movie, and I'm guilty of this too. Uh, a lot of times you walk into that theater, and if you're in a bad mood, if you just broke up with your girlfriend, just got divorced, whatever, you know, any shit can happen. And you walk into that movie and you watch that movie, you're probably not going to enjoy it, and
Valid.
unless breaking up with your girlfriend is reason to enjoy something. Um, but um, so so your mind is in that trap basically. So I don't like this about the movie. I don't like that, and blah blah blah. And I've been in situations where I've seen this movie or that movie and I didn't like it. And the remake of Evil Dead is one of those movies that I want to revisit now because at the time I was I was going through things with an ex, and I watched the film, you know, around that time, and I'm like, I don't like this movie. It's nothing like Sam Raimi would do, and I was expecting one thing, I didn't get it, and I hated every aspect of that movie because of it. Well, it was because of what I was going through at the time, and so I'm gonna revisit that, and I haven't seen the new Evil Dead, the sequel to that, and it's really because of that. And Barbarian was almost one of those movies too, because I saw that on the night I left somebody, and the the day before I moved back here. So a lot of shit was going on in my life leading up to that point, and I went to see Barbarian, and and I'm like,
What what a wonderful film to pick
yes,
during
and I'm
that
like, and I'm
time.
like, I walked out of the film like, what the fuck did I just see? And and I caught myself. So I was conscious of this, like, wow, I don't want to let my situation um impede my judgment. Did I like this film or not? And I love that film. So, but I mean,
So what you're saying is in 1982 there was an outbreak of breakups. And
Probably. So
everybody,
yes, probably. No, it's just
no, I know what you
it,
mean.
whatever
I
your frame of mind is going into a movie. Like okay, if
absolutely.
you're really excited to see a film um like Phantom Menace, I was really excited to see that. Oh, here we go. You know, prequels, and I walked out of the theater. I was disappointed because, but but I wasn't. Jar Jar Binks didn't bother me at first. It only started bothering me when everyone's like talking about Jar Jar Binks all the time, and then I got so sick of hearing about Jar Jar Binks. So, but no, I had an idea in my head of what this film should be, and but then I did revisit the film like when it came out on DVD. I think I don't remember. There was no VHS for there was no VHS, was it? I don't know.
I remember.
But I rented it when it came out on video, and I'm like, okay, knowing what it is now, watch it, and okay, that's George Lucas's idea of what this film should be. It's not mine, It's so the
I
filmmaker has their
yeah,
idea of the story that they're trying to tell, they're wanting to tell, and if you know to a certain point as a filmmaker, you have to consider the audience, but don't make it about the audience.
no. I
If
mean,
you have a vision, like like
you should make it.
yeah, you should make it like
Absolutely. I mean, you should definitely be aware of fans of either the genre or characters you're using, and there's certain liberties that you want to be careful with, but you should, as a filmmaker, you should always make, or at least my opinion, you should always make the film you want to make. You don't make the
yes,
film that somebody else wants to make, because then
right,
it's not your film.
right. And I
And
think
you can
Tarantino
hope,
has said that same thing.
yeah,
I
and
don't
you
make
can.
movies for audiences. I make movies that I want to fucking watch.
Exactly.
And
And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
right,
Sometimes movies aren't well accepted because it wasn't what people wanted. It's not because they were a bad movie. There are plenty of
right,
movies that I don't like, but there's actually nothing wrong with the film itself. You know what
right.
I mean?
Like
Um,
the script that I'm writing right now. You know it. Um, I don't know. I think I don't know. It's so not conventional for this type of film, but I don't give a fuck because
exactly.
I'm like this is kind of badass and it's never been done in this type of film before. And I've kicked the idea around with a few other people like, hey, have you ever heard of this type of film going this route, going this direction, doing this with the lead character that is that thing? And they look at me like, oh fuck. Oh my god. That opens up a whole new universe to them. I mean, you see like a light bulb go off in their head like, holy fuck. It's like this type of film is usually violent, but now it's like it's taken up a few more dead bodies than
Yeah.
normal.
And I
So
think that's what I love about Carpenter so much is Carpenter will always has and always will make the film that he wants to make. And that's what makes
yeah,
the thing so amazing. John Carpenter made the thing the way he wanted to make it. And it was such his own that it almost really has very little to do with the original story or the older film to begin with, because he
Right.
took an idea and
The,
ran with it and
yeah. The
made it
only thing it has,
amazing.
the only thing that the thing has in common with the thing
Is the thing
is the title. But
title.
I mean, the original, which is actually playing right now on my TV,
Nice.
was The Thing from Another World. But
Yes.
the hi Poe, what are you doing? But he's hypoallergenic. No,
Uh-huh.
he's the popo. Uh, but the opening credit, the opening title sequence is So they share that, and beyond that, uh, John Carpenter's The Thing is no longer a remake of Howard Hawks' The Thing.
Yep.
Just like
And that's
when the Coen brothers remade True Grit, it wasn't a remake.
it was its
It
own.
was
And
following
honestly,
the novel, you know.
it it that that's what remakes should be. And I think that's, even though don't get me wrong, remakes deserve all the hate for sure. But at the same time,
They
there
do.
are certain instances where it works out really well and it's well done. The Thing being a great example of an older one, because they went to one extreme and they said, we're taking an idea and we're going our own way with it. Perfect. Worked out great. One of the best films ever. A more modern example is True Grit. Also a great movie, I think.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, follow the books, or the book. I think there's really only two things you can do with a remake. And you have to go to one extreme or the other. You
Mhm.
absolutely cannot remake the movie that was made. You have to either take the idea and run with it so much that it's almost its own film, or
Right.
you have to follow the source material extremely close and try to make it a true rendition of that. That's what I
Right.
think are the only ways you can really
Right.
remake
Which
anything and it be worth
which
anything.
leads us to Netflix right now. Okay.
Oh.
So here we're going to talk about this right now, people. Frozen Hell. Netflix is opting to do a miniseries.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
And I'm like, okay. Oh. I'm like, I don't know. But they had also opted to remake The Howling. And I'm like, no. No, you don't do that.
No. Not only, okay. Not only do you not touch The Howling, the
yeah.
source material, the book is also not that good. So you can't even.
You know, one of the things, Craig was a huge fan of mine, and not to a stalking type of fan.
No.
I'll let him. I'll let him explain that. It's like, whoa, should I be worried about this guy? You know, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
My plan
No,
is coming to fruition.
yes, no. I've had stocky fans. Yeah. One of the things Craig asked me if I would do this podcast, and everyone that has watched, you know, any episode of this podcast, they know this story. They, I'm like, you know, I don't know, you know, I got a lot going on. I really didn't know if I wanted to get involved in something else, you know. And I'm like, hey, what do you call a podcast? And Craig said,
Corn on the macabre.
to which I said, okay, let's do it. So, but one of the things I said early on is I don't want to talk about movies that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to sit and put down movies, but I've been thinking about this because there are some movies that you like, Craig, that I'm not a fan of.
Yep.
And I would tackle those kind of things. I would tackle those type of things here on this thing that we call a podcast. um, it's I don't know. Can you consider it a podcast? It's just us rambling on about things.
Oh, half the fun of doing this is being able to discuss the movie, and like you were just said, we don't just want to sit here and dog on movies. So
Right.
we weren't really ever going to say, okay, well, this movie we both absolutely hate. Let's spend an hour or two telling people how much
Right.
we hate it. That's not what we wanted to do. It's not saying we're not going to mention some things that we don't like or that we have issues with. As if you've watched any of our videos, we sometimes do mention that stuff. But it's a chance to talk and discuss, and one of us may enjoy something a little bit more than the other one. But the best part is when we're able to discuss back and forth
Right.
about these
Yeah.
things. So that's what makes fun. Even though
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times we like the same things, but you know.
Yeah. Because like one of the funnest moments that we've had on the podcast thus far, and how many episodes do we have? I mean, we're down. You know, we're 30 some episodes now, and
Something I don't know.
yeah, a lot of them are to be deep dish pizza reviews. No, oh, that's a joke in and amongst itself. But is when like the first time you said you liked some aspect about a film, I can't remember what it was, and I'm like, I beg to differ with you on that, and here's why, you know. So, but yeah, and it just it it made me think, oh shit, yeah, if you like a film, and I'm like, I don't know what you like about it, but having made films, having been on set, having written a written a script that I've turned into a feature film a couple times. I know how hard it is to make a film. I know what a director goes through. I know the feeling of pulling my hair out, and I know fighting actors and I know all the shit that comes with it, and I'm not going to take that away from the fact that somebody has made a film. I'm not going to take that away from them. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody deserves.
I might not like the film, but hey, you did it. You did it. There's not a lot of people out there that say that can say that, and
Exactly.
I can say that, and
yeah,
it broke
kudos
me sometimes
to any.
So
Yeah, kudos to any filmmaker out there, even if your movie sucks.
that's
The
right.
fact that
That's right.
you went out and did it, because
be proud.
If you have that in you, if you have that drive and that want, I feel like you're going to spend your whole life just that being a part of you forever and forever. And that's kind of the mistake I've made with myself. I'm such an avid film fan, and was going to go to school for it, and did a lot of acting here, there, a lot of theater, and it just never came to fruition. And it's something that, as a human being, you should really treat yourself to go out there, and so you can at least say, I did it. Whether it works out or not, that's fine. But to go and put your art out there for someone to see, no matter the grade of how good or bad it is way more than some jackass just sitting around doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It really takes something, and you can say that about any genre of art when it comes down to it, music, paintings, making films, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The thing was, a movie he wanted to make, and it was shit on horribly when it came out.
Well,
Nobody liked
I
it.
mean, I
And
beg to
well,
differ.
except for some,
um,
so, there,
I don't believe he originally wanted to make this. Like, oh yeah, you can't, you I love Howard Hawks' film. You can't remake that. And then somebody's like, no, let's go to the novel. And then he's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
let's do that. So I initially I think he kind of scoffed at it, but
yeah. I meant more along the lines of when he got into actually
yes,
making it, he
yeah,
shot
he
and
made the
made the
movie he
movie
wanted to
that
make.
Carpenter wanted to make,
Yeah,
which is pretty much what he's done for most of his films, and a lot of times that was negative for him. A lot of his films didn't get good reviews to come out, and
yeah,
now over half his catalog is considered horror classics.
yeah,
It just goes to
yeah,
show
and
when you get out there and you make the film for yourself, it may even get shit on right away, but
Mhm.
eventually your art will be enjoyed and respected,
yeah,
in the right
uh,
ways by the right people at some point.
and
Not saying that
yeah,
every movie that's made is gonna have that status by
and
any means,
and
but
and here's one of the things I want to ask you, Craig. On a top 10 list that you would be your favorite John Carpenter films, Halloween or The Thing, which would be number one? I knew I had to do this to you.
yeah, I think at the end of the day, Halloween might be number one, and the reason would be because of the characters. It'd be Michael Myers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The Thing
yeah,
doesn't have a specific uh, face
right.
for what it
Okay,
is.
I can accept that.
And so, because for me, like the way I am about like rating things, like it will never stop bugging me unless I finally make a choice. I
Oh,
wish
okay,
I
gotcha.
wish I could be like, you know what? They're both in this spot, like you did with the Alien and the Thing, but for some reason, like it just eats at me, and I eventually like I have to make a decision. There's something in my brain tells me I've got to figure it out. Otherwise, I'm not
Right.
fully
Yeah.
satisfied, I guess.
Yeah.
And
So,
everybody reacts differently to that sort of stuff, but off the top of my head, I think that's where I'd go
yeah.
would be Halloween, and because of Michael Myers, and
Okay.
because I think of, you know, it goes beyond the film. It goes into the legacy that it's created,
Right.
and what it's
Right.
done for its respective genres. Even though I put The Thing as my number one sci-fi horror film, I don't think it had quite the impact that Halloween had on its genre of its
Right.
slasher horror genre type of deal. But it we're really getting picky to try to pick one above the other. Uh,
Yeah. Well, if if it came down to my top two John Carpenter films, uh, Halloween or The Thing. I mean, one of them would be number two, the other one would be number one, and um, oh, actually, I'd put them both right there, number one. No, I'm kidding. What for me, it goes to the Thing would be number one for me. Halloween would be a close number two. Um, there's plot holes in Halloween that I'm like, man, that's a plot hole. But then
True.
we go back to independent film. Like, okay, yeah, but technically, I mean, The Thing is a better movie technically, and
100%.
so
I fully
so
agree with that.
and I agree with you. The legacy that Halloween has, yeah, and we talked about that when we did the sequels, um, and Michael Myers is a character that we both love, um, and I was just, I grew up different, I like, like I said, I loved the Howard Hawks version of The Thing, and then when Carpenter made his, I loved that, and and then Halloween was there, I'd seen Halloween, before I saw The Thing, but when Friday the 13th came out, Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason was my slasher of choice, and then uh but Halloween, when Halloween 2 came out, in my opinion back then, I'm like, oh, I love this better than the original, and I still hold Halloween 2 up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think not even Carpenter himself foresaw what the thing was going to turn into, and luckily for him, it did, and it very much deserves it. Although I think I will forever question as to why it was hated so much. But my end
Yeah.
thing I always come to is, okay, 3 years ago, or 3 years prior, everybody loved an alien bursting out of somebody's chest. Why
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
we hating on the thing so much? Because when Alien came out, I mean, that was pretty intense and insane for its time. Completely, never done before things. And the
Mhm.
chest burster scene is every bit extreme and grotesque as,
Oh yeah.
some of the scenes
For
in
sure.
the
For
thing.
sure.
So, like, that's something it always
But
comes into my head. And I'm
see,
like,
well, see, that's the brilliance of Ridley Scott. I'm a huge Ridley Scott fan.
oh,
Um,
Ridley's amazing.
yeah, him and David Fincher, and I mean, just it's my generation of directors, and uh, Tarantino and John Carpenter. Yeah, I mean, and do I like every movie that these directors make? No, I don't.
Right.
There's some Carpenter films that I'm like, that was a miss. To me, it was a miss.
Ghosts of
Like,
Mars.
yes, I would say that, and this will probably shock you. There's one movie that everyone keeps they keep bringing up that they really love, and I'm like, well, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm kind of indifferent. It's got some great dialogue in it. It's got some great one-liners, and that would be The Memoirs of an Invisible Man. No, I'm kidding. I'm that film doesn't bother me actually, but no, it's They Live. They
They
Live
live.
is yeah. It's I don't know. There's something about it that I don't know. Kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's I don't know. I think the aliens are too goofy looking in it, and I'm like, wait, this supposed to be scary? I and it could have been one of those things that I watched it for the first time on a bad day, or whatever. But
Yeah.
I love Rowdy Roddy Piper. I love
Yeah.
I love the alleyway fight scene to put on the fucking
Yes.
sunglasses. It has some great, wonderful fucking moments in it.
Yeah.
But this, it like fell a little short for me, and maybe it's the alien design. that they're just real fucking Three Stooges goofy. I mean,
They are
I don't
weird.
know.
It's unique.
Yeah,
I think see, I fucking love They Live, but I saw
I
that
know.
at a really young age, and so initially the political social satire of it went, yeah,
Yeah, oh,
that
yeah,
wasn't there for me,
yeah,
and so the goofiness actually kind of was a positive play for me being younger, and then you have the mixture of Roddy Piper in there, and then even at that young age, I knew directors and stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh, John Carpenter, it gives me another reason to love it. So at a different age, They Live may have not have been what it was to me.
right, right.
Strangely enough, I have a Carpenter film that everybody loves that I am not as big a fan of as everybody else is. Uh, Prince of Darkness. Everybody loves Prince of Darkness.
Yeah,
Again, with I mean, great cast and
it,
everything, but Prince of Darkness for me always felt a little hokey. Um,
see, it's been a while
uh,
since I've seen that because I wasn't a huge fan of it. Um, what's In the Mouth of Madness
that's
was
that's with uh
with Sam Neill.
yeah, Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Der.
Okay.
That one
Okay. So
that one was I like that one. I
Prince of
haven't seen
Darkness had
Mouth of
Alice
Madness
Cooper
in
in
a
it.
while actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it that had the thing with the green swirling shit in
Yeah.
this like
Yeah.
thing? Okay, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a
See,
little bit more on the nose as far as like, yep, Satan's at work and Prince of Darkness, obviously, and they're trying to stop that. But yeah, it just
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, but
Yeah,
everybody loves
I'm think I'm
Prince of
along
Darkness. But
yeah, I'm like you when it comes to that. So, it's I probably don't hate the film. It's cuz I
oh no.
oh and if you want to talk about Carpenter, uh one of the films, well, is Cigarette Burns, the
Hmm,
short film. I love that.
it's great.
It's probably, and I don't even consider it a film.
Well,
it's an
yeah, it's a
anthology episode,
short. Yeah,
and but
yeah,
I'm like, fuck, that was. I mean, Carpenter was on top game for that. I mean, just
I agree.
the imagery and everything in that. And I know a lot of people uh, complain about Norman Reedus, his acting in that, and I'm like, he's fucking acting. Just lay off the
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Yeah,
How would you be in the film then? Huh?
yeah. I really, and I didn't initially, but I really love vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh
I
yeah.
I love that movie. It is so strange enough. When I went and saw it in theaters,
Me too.
because I had read the book, and so I love the book. Just love the book, and I was like, oh my god, John Carpenter making a vampire movie based on a book I read that I love. This is gonna be
Yeah.
amazing. I went and saw it, and I was like, what the fuck happened? It's not. It's not.
Yeah. It's
I was pissed, and I didn't like it.
yeah.
Uh, it took me revisiting the movie and
To
accepting
appreciate it. Yeah.
this is Carpenter's version of this. It's not, it's not the book. It's not
Right.
when you make that separation, fast forward to today, absolutely love that movie so much. It's great. I love the neo-western vampire.
Right.
It's fantastic. James Wood,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh
Horrible
yeah.
choice technically for how the character's written. And like
Yeah.
it's they varied very greatly from the book, but I love it.
Yeah, and I didn't read the book, but when I saw the film for the first time, I went to the theater to see it, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I loved aspects about the film. I love the grotesqueness of the vampires in the film, because I'm not a huge fan of the romantic. I don't want to say the romantic Victorian vampires, but yeah, that's
The Anne
the
Rice vampires.
yeah, and I do love Interview with the Vampire. Um, uh, uh, and for what it is, I love Dracula and the book Dracula, um, because Dracula is a grotesque vampire, and
Yeah.
Dracula's fucking scary when you read
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and that's my vision of vampires. Is yeah, they have to be fucking grotesque and so um, what vampires did for me was put this idea in my head of a vampire film that I would make. Um, and I haven't made it, but of an epic, grotesque vampire film. So, and it gave me that. It's like, oh, if I was telling this story, this is what I would do. You know, this is how I would take it. And I appreciate that film for giving me that. So, and it's like other films. I'll watch a film. Um, and there'll be something in the film that sparks something in me because they didn't elaborate on that. Why didn't they elaborate on that? I would love to see a movie about that. And then I'll write a script, and I'll have this, oh, they didn't go this direction, so I go that direction to tell that story. What if these characters had done that instead of what they did? In my head, it makes me think. And there's very few films that I can watch that I'll end up loving, and I'm like, leave it alone. The Thing is one of those movies. It's like,
Absolutely.
I'm at no point in that movie do I say, oh, Carpenter should have went in this direction with this. No point in that film do I do that. So
Yeah.
That's why
as a
it's high on my
artist
list.
or creator, I think that's what one of the highest accolades you can actually give, a movie is when you can sit there as another filmmaker and watch it out of pure enjoyment. It's guilt-free because your mind is not activated at some point because it's just so good, so
Yes.
perfect. And that's what the thing is, and it changed sci-fi horror for forever, and
Yeah,
it changed
it
it
did.
for me. And again, a lot of that's probably age-wise, but the thing is just something that crafted my love for anything like that. Thankfully, it ended up being one that definitely deserves all the accolades I'll throw at it.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
But
And if you're going to take away anything from this deep dive into The Thing, is it's the motherfucking first week of winter.
that's right.
Go
That's right.
watch The Thing. There's
And
snow on
never
the ground.
forget,
Go watch The
snow on the
Thing.
ground. And don't forget that man is the warmest place to hide. Dun dun dun. I always love that
Yeah.
tagline. Thought it was fantastic
Yeah.
for the movie. I love the original poster. I'm a huge fan of poster art and like alternative poster art, and The Thing to me was always one of those perfect original posters. That just something that you will never, ever, ever, ever forget. And there's no amount of alternative art, although it may be good, that just outdoes the original.
And here's the thing: Carpenter hated that poster.
He did. He did. Yeah, I don't know what else we can really say about The Thing, because it's all been said, like you mentioned before.
It's been picked apart so much by so many incredible people.
Yes, absolutely. I think the only way to end it is to end it with the ending that will never not be discussed in the history of film.
Yeah.
But I know in previous videos of ours, you have teased that you know who exactly it was.
Yeah.
Minus the fact that Carpenter has called the video game canon.
Right. This is a theory that I'm kind of seeing people talk about now. And John Carpenter has said that there's clues in the movie to who's the thing at the end, and I don't know if he's just saying that or or not, but and there was a theory of the eye light, and Dean Cundey, who was the cinematographer, he shot that down, saying, no, we just shot it and lit it the way we lit it, and
Same thing about the breath. A lot of people went off of.
Yeah, he said that about the breath too. But at the end, when McCready hands Childs the bottle of J&B, and Childs takes a swig, to me, that says Childs is a thing. Because if I were in that situation and this guy hands me a bottle, well, I don't drink alcohol anyway, but if I were to, and in that situation, I probably would drink, I wouldn't take a swig of it because I don't know if he's a thing. And remember when Blair was talking about we should make our own food? We should, we should, okay. So that was on their minds. We need to prepare our own food, yes, because we don't know how, somebody gets infected. So if I were a human, if I were me and I were Childs, I'd be like, nah, you can keep your drink, motherfucker. So that, and then McCready, when Childs takes a swig, Ennio Morricone's music comes in, The Thing music comes in, and McCready chuckles. Like, yeah, to me, Childs is the thing. It makes the most sense to me because, people are like, well, McCready's, underwear was found, stuffed in the in the in the in the furnace. And McCready's like, does anybody think, not think that somebody could have done that, Because if you think about it, McCready is the one that the thing knows it has to take out. The thing is going to, try to set that up, and
I think it's
let
very
the
apparent.
humans take them out.
Yeah, I think it's very apparent by the end of the film that we know that at least McCready is himself, that he is not the thing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we just went through a whole big ending sequence where he blows up the, big monster and all this nonsense. So,
Yeah. And you know
he
what?
pretty much
If
directly,
he was a thing, he wouldn't be like, yeah, fuck you too. You know.
yeah.
There you go.
And at that point, if he was a thing, and this may poke holes in the fact that Childs is the thing, but with the two of them there, there's no reason for the thing to hold out, to play the long game at that aspect. You would,
Right.
part of me thinks that maybe it would strike out. So I don't know. It's hard. I I I I like the theory that you went with. It makes a lot of sense. Because if you think of the thing as a whole, the thing as a whole, the film as a whole, and a character that, although did not survive, someone who was always kind of right outside of McCready was Blair. And
Yeah.
going back to the fact that he said that thing about the food and all this, that, and the other thing. So it's, by default,
Well,
it's
here's the
probably
thing.
something you can follow by the end of the film. I mean, people could also make the argument, well, McCready chuckles because he just got him to drink from that, and now he can assimilate him, but I don't know.
Yeah,
There
I
is
know that there's
the
the
slight possibility that, knowing Carpenter as well as someone like myself could know him, which is not much, but it's hard for me to come down and to the fact and just think about, I'm not so sure, maybe he just wanted it to leave it that way, and he never wanted there to be an official
right.
answer to end it all.
Right.
And I think that's maybe what he thought during the making of the film. But I
Mhm.
also think he put things in throughout the film that you could argue to make the case that it is one of the other ones. So
Who do you think
if I had
Patient
to
Zero?
choose,
Who do
I
you
would
think
choose
Patient?
Childs.
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you think Patient Zero was? The
So
Shadow.
Patient Zero.
Yeah, the Shadow. The dog went in the shadow on the
Oh,
wall.
that's right.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I mean, everyone has their theory of who Patient Zero was, but I mean,
McCready.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the funny thing is, when you take all the actors in the film and you put them up against their character, that shadow is none of them. It's just it's a nondescript shadow. It's just a human shadow. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, the one thing I can tell you, I'm pretty sure Blair. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Blair was a thing when he was. I'll kill you." Oh,
Nope.
you okay, honey?
I don't believe that at all.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he knew what was going to happen if the thing got out. And when they locked him in the tool shed, that
Mhm.
noose. Do you think he was contemplating suicide? That he was going to hang himself, and the
I think
thing
so.
came out and assimilated him before he could do that? That's the way I took it. I've always taken it that way. So it's just the movie is just it's a
Yeah,
masterwork in paranoia.
it is. And I think, I don't know, Patient Zero, that's hard, other than obviously the dogs being the one that brought it into there, but the shadow, I'm not so sure that there was specifically supposed to be,
I don't think there was.
I don't think so, because outside of the dogs, isn't so Clark dies first because he gets
Clark
shot.
never. Yeah,
But
he wasn't a thing.
yeah, he wasn't a thing.
But he was around the dog for hour and a half most. Why wasn't Clark turned? That makes no sense.
I don't know.
I don't know. Is that a flaw?
Maybe. Oh. What? Bennings wouldn't be patient zero. He's the first one to die that after Clark that we know was a thing. But he was caught in like mid assimilation. So that wouldn't be patient zero either, maybe? So Norse was the one got the heart attack that they examined. So could have been.
So patient zero is Norse.
I think it might have been.
Yep.
Or
sure is. There you go. The utmost authority on the thing.
Yeah.
Cue the music. Yes.
As always, we thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed hanging out with us in our deep dive for the thing.
Yep.
Let us know what you think, or what you thought, or what you like, what you don't like. And of course, like, share, subscribe. That definitely helps us out.
That's right.
We hope you come back and see us again for the next deep dive or review on Corn on the Cob.
Yes. We're out of here.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.